I'm proud to be joined by Rutgers basketball alumni and current collegiate basketball head coach, Rich Brunson.
How you doing,
Rich,
Nico?
thanks for being here.
Pleasure, my man.
All right, so let's start off in Jamaica, Queens, New York. You grew up in Jamaica, Queens, New York, and I just want to know a little bit about playing basketball in the city, what that was like for you, and how your game developed.
You're taking me back. Jamaica, Queens, New York. That has to be probably an experience I would never forget, Nico. Growing up in New York is streets of hard knocks, and you have to earn your stripes, so to speak. I played against a lot of good ball players. I actually started out at the age of 10. You know, found my older brother, he used to always beat up on me all the time. He never would let me get a shot off. But it was a learning experience. But playing in New York, you know, I think because, you know, in New York we have a basketball court, on every block.
Everywhere.
So you can't help but just play basketball. But just the pace of it, you know, the back and forth, the 100 miles an hour, you either have to catch up or you'll be behind.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, just learning that way to play basketball, how to play the game fast, you can always play slower.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a great adjustment for me, and it helped out. It jump-started my career, so to speak.
Definitely. So
Yeah.
tell me about some of the talent that you had around you in the city, because I know we previously spoke and you told me talent everywhere.
You know, it's like a kid, you know, you're trying to earn your stripes and trying to figure out who's a guy around the corner, so to speak. So when you're playing in different boroughs in these tournaments, you don't really know who the people are until you get older.
Yeah.
But you just know they were good, just like you, so to speak.
Of course.
So a couple of the names, you know, as I grew older to get to know these guys personally, guys like Kenny Smith, good friend Tony Red Bruin, who played at Syracuse, Pearl Washington, Rayford Austin, who's from the neighborhood,
Yeah.
Kenny Anderson, the famous Lamar Odom, Lloyd Daniels. I mean, the name goes on and on.
Lloyd Daniels. I'm friends with Lloyd Daniels' son.
Really? Yeah, we try to recruit his son, matter of fact. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So those guys were just guys who we mingled with, and we just bounced off each other and just shared talents and learned from each other. So
Absolutely.
it was good.
Yeah. So we spoke and you told me you attended the 5-star basketball camp, which obviously is a camp that very prestigious players go
One
to.
of the best.
Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant. What was that experience like for you? What was some of the talent around you then?
I think, well, going back to the beginning of it, you have to mention the godfather of basketball, Howard Garfinkel, who still founded it, with a guy named Will Klein. And it's a special camp in my heart because one of my best friends I grew up with, you know, older brother, was actually the first MVP of 5-star, which was, I think, in 1966. Ron Johnson was his name. I met Howard Garfinkel, I think, my junior year in high school. I went to a game at St. John's, and here he is. He introduced himself to my high school coach, and he handed me an invitation to the camp. I had no idea what it was about, and so I go to this camp 3 weeks later, and come to find out later, the guys who were there with me, guys like Dominique Wilkins, the great Sam Bowie, went on to play at Kentucky, Rocket Rod Forster from UCLA. So you had all these guys from different states that played in this one facility in Holmesdale, Pennsylvania. And you had to bring your game. And it was, you had to bring your game and not your name, so to speak. So
Yeah.
I had a great time. I mean, I met a lot of the coaches at the time who were just working out, like the Patinos and Caliparis. Those guys are just jumpstarting their careers as coaches.
Yeah.
So it was just a pleasure, man. That whole week in Holmesdale taught me so much. I think not to fear the guy in front of you on the court because everybody was good.
Yeah.
So you had to bring your game, and hey, the rest was history, man. But 5-star definitely truly was my beginning, my introduction to big-time basketball.
So you ended up meeting a worker from UConn, and you almost ended up going to UConn, and you, of course, went to Rutgers. So what was
Yes.
that experience like?
Wow.
With potentially being that close away from going to UConn.
Well, you know, Nico, the first thing when you go to 5-star camp is just the mystique of the camp. Because when you go there your first day, and that first morning, you see all these coaches from all over with these shirts on, the nice polos with the college names, and you see all the kids taking a peek at all these coaches, and you're overwhelmed. So I think my third day, this one guy who just followed me everywhere I went. You know, I did my drills in the morning, I did my calisthenics, I had my 2 games and whatever. And I might think I even saw him in the cafeteria, I'm not sure. But his name was Art Perry, and Art Perry was a UConn assistant. And we got to be such good friends, and he might have sent me a letter maybe 3 times in the week. I ran to the mailbox, here it is, UConn. So UConn was actually the school I was going to attend. Until about a month after that, somewhere in August, I got a letter in the mail, this bright red envelope, and I'm opening it, and it says Rutgers University. And it was my first letter. And I'm saying, oh, these guys are behind the 8 ball a little bit here. I'm ready to sign. But I opened it up, and it was a letter from Art Perry. And it simply said, Richie, I want to tell you firsthand, I switched schools, and I'm now going at Rutgers as an assistant coach. And I needed you. And he wanted me. I said, Coach, wherever you go is cool with me. He was my guy. So that's how I ended up at Rutgers.
The rest is history.
Rest is history.
So transitioning into Rutgers, we mentioned Rutgers before, obviously, but transitioning into Rutgers, it was a little bit of an adjustment at first, wasn't it? Because the college game is much different than, playing in the streets.
Oh, a lot different. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think for any youngster that's leaving high school, going to college, what's important is you have to have a strong circle around you. Your circle are your employees, so to speak, and they are the ones who are going to prepare you for that next jump. And I had a great circle coming from New York, great coaches, AAU coaches, guys from the neighborhood, the unsung heroes, so to speak, and they prepared me for that. So my first year at Rutgers, pretty much, I had to transform into a point guard, whereas in high school I was a shooting guard. And that's a famous word, the combo guard, so to speak. Now you have the stretch fours in the NBA and all that. It's different now. But my transition was it was nice and smooth. So it was really from being a 2 guard in high school to playing the point guard on a bigger stage. And it was good for me though. I learned it. Coming from good coaches, you know how to take criticism, you know how to adapt to a different coach. And more importantly, being a New York ball player, how to adjust with different talents. That was the key for a New York ball player. You can adjust to any type of player, and that was good for me at Rutgers.
So obviously it ended up working out for you. You ended up being a 4-year starter at Rutgers, and something you got to experience, I'm sure that you always remember.
Oh man.
Is playing against great players.
Yes.
You got to play against Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan actually played Rutgers in his first ever televised game.
Absolutely. That's
unfortunately, you ended up missing that one, but the next year
Right. That was
instead of MSG.
When you're playing in college, like I said, it's like playing the street ball in New York. You're not really aware of who's going to do what in the next 5 years or so. You know what I mean? So, but some guys do have names that linger out there. But Michael Jordan truly was probably one of the better players that I've played against, and it's several of them, Nico. You had Isaiah Thomas, you had several of them.
Great.
But Michael was the one that stood out. And that first game, I was so excited, but unfortunately I had an operation that week back in New Brunswick at Rutgers, and I missed that game. But the following year,
when you played against him, everyone really knew what he was. The first year they had ideas, but nobody knew what he was.
Well, Dean Smith had the philosophy, of course. He's one of the all-time legendary coaches, and his thing was really, as a freshman, you had to earn your stripes. The same thing with those great Kentucky coaches back then. Where the whole bench was All-Americans, you had to wait your turn. So when Michael came aboard, he said, "Hey, look, you're a freshman, you have to wait your turn." But as those games went on, coach was itching. All that changed. Philosophy out the window. But Rutgers was good.
So what were some of your other accomplishments and memories that you'll always cherish as well?
At Rutgers, probably any college basketball player's dream is to make the NCAA. The big dance, the tournament in March. And that was my goal probably my first day on campus. 14 guys came as freshmen, so we knew it would be a process. But my junior year, which is the year I missed probably 3/4 of the season, and it worked out for a reason, I guess, because the 2 guards that stepped up, one made the NBA, the infamous John Battle, who played with Doc Rivers and the Cleveland Cavaliers, and the other one was Brian Ellaby, who went on to coach at Michigan and had a great coaching career to this day. And now he's at Morgan State. So those guys came in when I went down, but I came back the last 3 games of the season, and we made the NIT, but that wasn't enough. So so my senior year summer, I worked real hard, and I say I got 1 more year left, and we got to get to the tournament. And we had a great year, and we went 2 rounds in NCAA, and we lost to my good hometown friend, Chris Mullins.
Yeah.
And then to this day, I still hear about that. How they beat us. Yeah.
So yeah, you ended up having a great career at Rutgers, obviously, but now you're the head coach of the women's basketball team for the Brookdale Jersey Blues, of course.
Yes.
So between that, you own your own training company, Fundamental Basketball.
Yes.
You have your own pest control company.
Yes.
So you have your own business. And you're also the director of recreation in Shrewsbury. So how do you
don't
juggle
get any
all
sleep
that?
either.
No sleep. How do you juggle all that?
I think it all goes back to my childhood being just energetic. My metabolism is out the roof. And basketball, it does something to you.
Yeah.
You don't sleep. And the famous word, they said, New York never sleeps. I believe it. I mean, we're just natural born hustlers, and I don't know how I do it, to be honest, Nico. But yes, I'm the director of Shrewsbury, small town here in Eatontown, and got about 25, 30 kids that I work with twice a week, and it's just great. I roll the basketballs out, they have fun. In the summertime, we take it outside to the park, and we do all kind of games, and it's just a pleasure to have that position. It's my second year doing that. The other thing is, since I was a kid, I had a passion for bugs, believe it or not. And I own my own pest control company. 15 years ago, a guy in New Brunswick started his business, and he was a good friend of mine.
From Rutgers? Do you mean
No, he actually went to Tuskegee. His name is Paul Gorell, and he's an engineer, but he came out of Tuskegee as an engineer. For 1 year, he had a great job, and then he stopped, and he started his own pest control business. And I would work side by side with him for about 8-10 years until I decided to start my own business, which I did.
Of course.
And
So
the other thing is the basketball training.
Fundamental basketball.
Hey, exactly what it
Tell
says.
me about it. You told me a while back that training is your passion. Why do you get such a passion out of training, and how do you get the most out of your players?
I think the passion in the training comes from the love of the game when I was young, because I had those energetic type coaches, and we believed in them. And when I say energetic, these guys didn't let us breathe. I mean, talking about the running, the jumping, the calisthenics, all that. I think we did it so much, we fell in love with it.
Yeah.
And the beauty of it is we saw the results.
The results make you fall in love.
So my AAU team, when I was growing up in New York, with all those great ball players from different boroughs, we probably lost a total of 5 games in maybe 3 years. So it was incredible. So for me to give that back now to these kids, and to see the beauty of them not only watch me show them how to do it, but to put it into play.
Yeah. And
it's working, and it's beautiful.
of course.
And,
so a lot of talent you've trained. Talent.
Oh,
Tell me
man.
about some of those players.
I think, the numbers vary, but it's close to about maybe 78 kids I put in high major schools, 5 NBA players, and about 44 abroad. So I think that's a pretty good statistic on my part. The best player I ever trained, hands down, I have to say Andrew Bynum. Yeah, got to be Andrew. And because I saw him start from nothing to something.
Yeah, definitely something.
So we helped build him to the point where when he came to me, his brother came into my gym, and the poor kid, he couldn't even dribble the basketball and chew gum. But I watched him, and I think with Andrew, the key was he was a great student. So picking up information wasn't his downfall.
Yeah.
So that's the reason for his success. Yeah.
Yes.
Andrew Bynum, hands down.
So another player, Quincy Doobie. You know Quincy Doobie had a 75-point game in China a few years
Oh,
back?
of course. Quincy's probably one of the later guys, but right here in this gym here in Brookdale, me and Quincy would work out. And I'm telling you, he's probably the one guy that amazes me as far as a shooter.
Yeah.
Because we would do these drills called, killer shots. We call it killer shots. And he would run the baseline back and forth, and he has to make 20 on both sides. And when I tell you he goes 20 in a row, it's just unbelievable. You have to see to believe it. But he's one of the best shooters I've seen. Yes.
Yeah. So now, as we mentioned, you're the coach of the women's team at Brookdale, head coach. So this season, you guys have gotten far enough to be in the tournament, which is an honor that not all teams get. And you guys have a high seed in the tournament, and you guys have obviously played well, so it would be foolish to ask you what your goals are. You obviously want to get that ring, but what are your expectations, and how do you feel you will meet your expectations?
Well, first of all, I learned a long time ago through my great coaches that when you when you get a position, you always have to pay tribute to those who either gave you that or how you transformed to that. So I definitely want to thank Sean Noel for giving me the opportunity for just stepping over from the boys side, which I did for 4 years and got a national ring. And of course the great Coach Chizak, who's been here 25 years, who embraced me to come in. So those two guys are key. So that's my thanks to those guys for just letting me be a part of the Brookdale family. But moving forward, and Sean Noel trusting me to take over this girls program, it's just been sky high from day one. I got a good group of girls who listen. I got a good group of girls who practice hard. And the most important thing, they trust each other and they trust me. So I always tell them, listen, I got the antidote. We just got to follow it. We can beat any team. I'll get the grant. I'll do the X and O's. You just follow it, we'll be okay. And they've been buying into that.
Yeah.
But to win the other day against Middlesex and win the Garden State Conference was just a tremendous feat on their part. And great for Brookdale, of course. You see all the awards we have hanging up. It's just a great traditional school. But our goals right now, geez, to be honest, we already achieved our goal. Our goal was to win the conference. So now anything else is just gravy.
Gravy.
So we'll go into the Final Four next week, playing hard. I'll do what I do, watch my films, and don't get no sleep. And they'll do what they do and just follow my lead, and then I think we'll be okay.
There you go.
But if we can win the tournament or to the Nationals, hey, anything goes from there.
What do you love most about teaching these girls the game of basketball?
I think the response of being able to carry out what I show them, and for them to trust that if you just practice hard and push yourself, you can accomplish anything. Anything. I mean, don't get me wrong, we have flaws, but the flaws are so minute. It's just that you got to pay attention to your flaws. We have little flaws as far as just boxing out. Now, how hard is that? But if you just pay attention to the key words on how to correct your flaws, I think you'll be a better ball player.
Yeah.
And this generation now is different. I mean, the game is still fast, but you got a lot of players now who take the shortcuts. They want to score the 30 points a game. They don't want to do the little things, the boxing out, the setting the screens. So there's more to it. I think the old style basketball has gone away and is slowly coming back because AAU right now and travel ball is what it is. It's just a lot of shooting, a lot of traveling, and there's no teaching. And that's why I thought of the name, Fundamental B-Ball. It's the perfect name. Perfect name, yes.
Yeah. So you have a 30-point scorer this year. You have a team that is obviously great, as we mentioned before, and you've been a part of championship rings with the men's team.
Yes.
So you have accomplished a lot as a Brookdale coach. But in terms of the future, would you be interested in continuing your basketball career into further divisions?
Wow, that's a good question, Nico. I mean, continuing any career, I think, will come down to maybe two things, my perception. Location and the almighty dollar. Because your passion can always follow you anywhere.
Yeah.
I can coach here anywhere, but if guys say, hey, come to Alaska, will I do it? No. The guy say, here's $1 million, we come to Alaska, I might say, yeah. So it's really about the location and probably the money. But right now, I'm so happy here at Brookdale. It's not even about the money part of it, because I'm comfortable. It's all about really being around a group of people who are embracing each other and making it work.
Making it work.
Oh, that's it.
Of course.
You got to be happy with that.
Yeah.
So that's it.
I wish you the best of luck in this year's tournament and your career.
Appreciate it, man.
I really appreciate you being here today, Rich.
Thank you. Thank you.
And that's all for us.
Yeah.